Welcome to Talent Freaks with Andy Kuhn. I'm your host, Andy, filmmaker and photographer based in the Bay Area. Today, we continue our conversation from 2008 with Eric Jacobus, an action filmmaker, stunt performer, and founder of the Stunt People. In this episode, Eric shares insights into his experience acting in feature films, the challenges of fight choreography, and the importance of a strong production environment. Get ready for an exciting deep dive into the world of indie action filmmaking. Now, before we dive in, don't forget to subscribe and rate Talent Freaks on your favorite podcast platform. It helps others discover these inspiring stories. Now, let's go back to 2008 and let the younger version of myself reintroduce you to Eric Jacobus for part 2 of our conversation.
This episode, you're just going to hear more rambling and nonsense from us. We just had a real good time, so here we go.
How did it feel when Micah came up to you and asked you to be in his film, coming from just, being embedded into your, within your own world and your own films, coming in, doing somebody else's film and being their vision and completely acting in a different way? This is a completely different character than I think you would ever write.
It is. It's different. I'm actually writing a dramatic sort of film right now. It's not entirely drama. There's comedy in it too. But I normally wouldn't write anything like that. It was an honor. I'll say that first. To be the lead in someone else's feature film. I had that opportunity in 2003, but it was called Monster's Bride, but it never came out. It was a horror film. My first movie, my first gig. It never came out, and I don't know if it ever will, but Ro, if you're listening to this, man, come on, release it.
He doesn't even have like a finished copy?
I think he edited it, and then something happened to the computer, and just he lost it.
Yeah.
I think he lost it all, and I believe that the finished edit was just too short to be marketable. I think it was 60 minutes. And what do you do with a 60-minute film? So it's okay.
You put it on Vimeo.
Yeah, I guess so. So, and then Ro went on to be the executive producer for Contour. But anyway, for Dogs, that was very foreign to me. Usually, if I'm going to be playing a serious character, people put me in a villain position. That's easy for me. I can do that pretty good. But being a main character, a really dramatic role, I don't think I've ever done that. And let alone in a feature film for 21 days. It was just like, this is hard, and I'm competing. I'm not competing. I'm trying to work with fairly seasoned actors around me, like Huyen and all these other talented folks, and I'm on the surface, it's like, Eric, you've got 7 years of experience in front of the camera, and yeah, but I'm mostly doing pantomime in front of the camera. I don't really talk much on camera, and if I do, it's just really to the point, and I'm not doing these long dialogues about my life. I've never really done anything like that, and so after doing Dogs was a great opportunity for me. And not just in the sense that, maybe it'll open up some doors for me. I'm really hoping for that, but it's just that I started actually pursuing more acting jobs because it kind of boosted my confidence as an actor. Not hopefully realistically, but I've done 1 or 2 acting gigs ever since. And that's cool, These don't involve action, just acting, and I think that's a really good exercise for anybody who, wants to do action. It's good to be seasoned a little bit in acting.
Absolutely. Look at Jason Statham.
Yeah.
I mean, he started off as a I wouldn't say dramatic, but an actor that wasn't doing action, and then he started kicking ass. You're like, whoa, where did that come from?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
And then he started being every bad movie that was ever made. You're like, oh, wait. But have you seen Revolver?
No.
Oh,
I don't think so.
You'd like that movie, a Guy Ritchie film.
I'll write it down.
Yeah,
I got my list going.
I'm not sure, but I think Blake said it was like a remake from Japan. I'm not sure, but it's really well thought out and beautifully shot, and it's the action's intense. It's
Cool.
a really good movie.
All right, check that out.
Yeah, Revolver. But yeah, how was it alien to you? I mean, isn't it difficult to come to Greensboro, North Carolina, and just start acting? I mean, it's just weird because you're in this whole different environment, and then you're staying with a Micah, and but I mean, Micah never uses his bed. Still, I go over there and he's sleeping on the couch.
Well, so he can work in his sleep, basically.
Yeah, that's pretty much what he does.
Yeah.
So I don't know what he's going to do now that Dogs is going to be finished. If he's going to finally come out and get some sunlight. I'm not sure, but I'm sure it's a relief for him. But he's going to have the that anxiety disorder. When your baby is out of your womb, he's going to be like, oh my god.
Yeah.
But damn, man, I just
well, it was going over there and doing a movie that's easy. I knew that you guys were good people. That didn't worry me when I go somewhere and I'm kind of worried about the character of the person I'm working with. That's when I get put off a little bit, and that has happened. That's when it's tough. No matter what I'm doing, if the people around me, if just one person around me is off a little bit, then that can ruin the whole experience for me. And in doing acting, you really, I don't know, it's one of those crafts or trades where you kind of need a good environment in order to really function well. And by that I mean just the people need to be good people. You need a good relationship with the people around you on the production. And had I not had that, then it would have been hell. I gotta say, if you guys hadn't been cool, it would have been like any other place in the world. It would have been the same if the people around just weren't cool, or if just one person can ruin it. It would have been really difficult, especially doing a feature film that's dramatic. I'm completely out of my league. But no, it worked out. It worked out great. It was awesome.
Yeah,
it was hard, and that was good. That it was hard. That was definitely good.
It was hard. 21 straight days, and I mean, we had, and to be honest, it was a relatively smooth shoot. I mean, the few days we shot outside, it rained, which was the only time it rained the whole summer, or during that time period.
Yeah.
But it's interesting you said that, because when I went out to Phoenix, and I did it. I helped a director edit his documentary, and he said, "Don't worry, you could stay with us, and we'll lend you a car." And it was the most uncomfortable environment I've ever been in. And it was just like, wait a minute, you're paying me to come in and to do my thing, and then afterwards it was just awkward. Yeah, and it wasn't like on my end. It was just they started. They're like, hey, why don't we go here? And they started taking me out all over the place. And I love when people take me out, but I have this thing where I like to be in control of like where I go and what I do. And thank God I had a family in town in Phoenix.
Oh, yeah.
So I crashed with them, but it was just like after a while, it just started getting uncomfortable. They're like, well, let's go over here. Here, why don't you drink this unfiltered water that we got from the stream? And I'm like, I don't know if that's a good idea. I'm like, because you guys are used to it. You've been drinking a lot. Like, oh, don't be ridiculous. So I drink it. Next day, I'm like in the bathroom for the entire day. And it was just like, all right, that's enough. There are pee stains all over the house from a St. Bernard puppy that was just pissing no matter, wherever it wanted to, and they would just put a towel over it and let it stain. I mean, the house looked like it had polka dot rug, huge polka dots. Wow. It was just, I digress. Damn, I got to get off that. Anyway, so
that's the point exactly.
Yeah.
The environment is everything when you're acting. Because if I'm doing action, it's different when I'm doing just stunt work, or if I'm just doing stunt work. You can have me on a couch. You can throw me on a wooden floor, and as long as as long as I slept well the night before and as long as I've eaten, I'll be okay. I don't really care if, the people have been up arguing all night and everyone hates me. I can still do my job because it's really, it's kind of objective doing stunt work. But then when anything that's so mental as acting, that's just completely different. And again, like that brought me out of my league again.
Yeah.
And on top of that, I was also doing fight scenes and stunt work for the movie and choreographing.
Now,
And choreography is another one too. You really have to be mentally there in order to do the choreography. If you're even worrying, if I'm even worrying about something that day, a lot of the time I just can't choreograph anything. And I really didn't run into any problems during Dogs.
no, you didn't. But I saw when you got tired, like you're really fighting to focus. Like towards the end, you're just like, I mean, we just shot like a 14-hour day of you fighting, or and then you're trying to choreograph it at the same time. And you're just like, oh man.
Was that with Ray?
Yeah,
that scene.
No, Ray, and also when you and Brian went at it, you guys.
Oh yeah, that was a long day.
That was a very long day.
That one was hard because fortunately, when I was doing the fight with Ray, that's all we did that day, and so I was more with it. And I thought of it a lot. Thought of a lot of it beforehand, and we had it's like a 2-minute scene, which is for 8 hours of shooting, that's incredible for me. I don't normally choreograph that quick. I mean, if I'm improvising choreography, we might get 45 to 50 seconds for 8 hours. Like that's how Contour was. But of course, you're breaking the flow every day because we can only work 4 hours a day.
Sure. And
then an hour of that is warming up and breaking down. So you're only getting 3 hours, and you kind of have to figure out where you left off and get everyone's blood pumping. And so with Dogs, at least when I'm just doing a fight scene, then I can be all there. But when you're talking about a whole day of doing dialogue and waiting and then dialogue and then training and doing push-ups for for the training montage, and then you do a fight scene, that's a much different story.
Yeah. And it was interesting to me because I've never been even associated with any kind of action film before, so I got a real good understanding of everything going on. And I was impressed with everyone involved. I mean, Micah just did everything himself. I mean, he didn't. That was one thing I wish he did ask more, but at the same time, the film looks great.
Well, he also gave me control of the choreography.
That he did, which was
awesome. And he even let me pick the angles for that stuff.
Yeah, I saw that.
And sometimes I would actually fight him over something because he wanted to shoot. He would want to shoot something about the light, something he liked, from a cinematographer standpoint that I don't understand. And he would say, I really want to shoot that way. And I say, but the fight choreography won't work there. And so either we would change the angle and maybe use his shot later for something, or we would just change the choreography to make it look good from that angle.
Gotcha.
And sometimes we were able to compromise, I think, most of the time. And I don't think there were any hard feelings during the fight scene.
There wasn't at all.
Pretty in tune with Micah, and I were really in tune.
And it helps so much to understand, like, Micah's background, being a martial arts background, and it helps so much. And I think that lends to filmmaking in general, like what you are with with your martial arts, when your background in gymnastics, it helps to add so much more with the flexibility and everything else going on in your body. Just like Micah knows, kung fu and understands martial arts, it helps him when he shoots that kind of film. And I guess what I'm saying, people, is if you're just going to be a filmmaker, you, that one person listening, if you're going to be a filmmaker, you have to have substance behind it, or expertise helps big time, rather than just be like, I'm going to shoot films. And because sometimes I fall into that, that avenue where I'm just like, okay, just cut here, there, and then I'm just like, crap. Like, there's nothing behind it, you know what I mean? It's kind of just like theory and emotions, but there's nothing really driving it. I don't know, but that's my fight that I deal with as a filmmaker on a daily basis when I do stuff.
No, I'm the same way. Every script that I write, all one of them right now, I write this thing and I'm happy with it, and then I read it and I think this sucks, and I just got to start over. And you're always fighting that kind of thing. You know, you're never. I guess I should say you should never consider yourself an expert, at least not until you've won an Oscar or something like that. Because if you're just happy with what you've done, and if you're not stressing about your work, then there's probably going to be something wrong with it that you missed.
True. I have one more thing to ask you, and this is from, I got one comment, or one person wanted to ask you a question on my blog, and this is from Marina, or, see, I'm horrible. Why do I even try to pronounce names? No, it is Marina. Marina Martin. Oh. I was going to put Marina, but no, it's Marina Martin. And she asks, has anyone been injured during one of the stunts?
Yes.
And then she says, how much well, could you I'm tired.
That's all you get.
It's almost 12 over here, so I'm just like, okay, next.
How do I count? I've actually been really lucky. I haven't had anything serious happen to me during stunts on camera. The worst I've had was a really bad back injury while I was doing gymnastics. All my injuries have been from not shooting. It makes me think that I should be shooting more often.
Well, because there's this like conscience in the back of your head going, shit, someone else might see this, so maybe I won't injure myself.
Maybe, and then there's also that feeling where, you know, my adrenaline spikes when I hear action, and then my body just works better.
Right.
And I'm also really, really careful on camera. I don't just throw myself into a wall. I let other people do that. I'll think about it for a long time and make sure there's not one little nail, no piece of cardboard that might give me a paper cut. You know, I'd really clear it out and make sure it's not going to hurt me. And I've been really fortunate. I'm pretty good. And the only injury I've really had was when I was practicing gymnastics in 2003. 2003, I think, yeah. And I herniated my disc.
Ooh.
Which, up until about, 4 months ago, and during dogs, it was still bothering me. You know, so we're talking like a 4.5-year-old injury at least.
That's a lifetime injury right there. Back.
Yeah, but fortunately, over the past, I don't know, actually, while I was shooting dogs, I stopped taking ibuprofen. I actually got off the pill.
Wow.
So I was popping, I think, 2,400 milligrams of ibuprofen daily.
Holy.
And even that did not quite do it. I would still be in pain. And then it was kind of like a multi-level injury, because that's an injury. It was in my L5. It was the lowest disc in your back. That's an injury that just keeps happening. If you sit wrong, it happens again. And while you're injured, you're more prone to injury still. And so if you lift something, you might do it again, and then you go back to square one. And it just takes forever to heal. And before dogs, I thought it had healed. I was able to touch my toes again, put my socks on. I was a normal human being. And then something happened about a year before dogs. And it just bulged out again, but it bulged on the right side, and so it was pinching my sciatic nerve on my right leg.
Ooh.
And so for like 6 months, my entire right leg was in pain for 6 months, pretty much throughout the day. And I have a labor-intensive job as a fire evidence technician, where I'm lifting appliances and doing anything that involves my back that I can possibly do. And that was just not a good time for me. And by the time I did dogs, I was in fairly good shape. I could go for a long time before it started hurting. And then, but yeah, during the first 6 months of that second phase of the injury, I was doing 2,400 milligrams of ibuprofen every day, sometimes 2 Prozacs, sometimes a cyclobenzaprine also.
Oh man,
it was just an insane amount of painkillers, and it didn't do it. I don't know. Maybe they just don't. I don't know. I don't know.
Well, what's the worst injury someone has had during one of the shoots? Right,
and that would definitely be Ray.
Ray.
During Contour, we had this bright idea of having him get kicked in the back, and we thought that putting a back guard on him, like what motocross riders wear. It's kind of like that spine that they wear to keep them from breaking their backs. So we thought, hey, we'll just put that on your back, get kicked in the back, no big deal. And then the stupid thing slid up, and once he got kicked, the thing slid up, and because of the whiplash, his head went back, hit the top of the back guard as it was pushing up, so practically dislocated his neck for a second.
Ooh.
And it was just all kinds of bad. And he was numb on his left side for the rest of the day, and then for months afterward would feel numbness in his left side. And you can see it in contour and fight when he gets kicked in the back. You know, it was just an oversight by everybody. It was one of those things where, you know, just now I know, just don't even get kicked in the back in a movie. I just don't even try it. And if I'm gonna get kicked in the back, I'm not gonna put a big piece of plastic that will slide up and dislocate my head.
Well, that was one thing that was really impressed, is like during the shooting of Dogs, is like how fast you guys went at it. I mean, even for the camera, like there's no tricks of speed like in post. I mean, that's how you guys went at it, fast and intense.
I still stand by this little word of advice. It's not even advice. I think it's just a fact. Is that most people can go that fast. They usually just don't try.
Mm-hmm.
When I've worked with other people who have, you know, who say they have problems going fast, if we just kind of warm up to the speed that I'm used to, I've always been able to do it with other people. Even people who said like, no, it's going to be it's too fast, I can't keep up. But no, they've always been able to do it. And I mean, when we were working with Paul, Paul said at one point, he says, "Wow, you really want to go that fast?" And I said, "No, you can do it. Just try it." And then kind of warmed him up, and then he just got into it. And next thing you know, Paul's fighting just as fast as any of us.
Yeah.
And so it's just a thing that, I don't know. I know some people speed up videos and you can't tell, and that's cool. I know you can actually overcrank with the camera we were using. You can overcrank to 22 frames a second. And if we wanted to, we could have done that. And yeah, maybe it would have looked better.
There's no need to, man. I mean, it looks intense.
I guess. And there's also something just visually appealing about speed that's actual speed rather than being overcranked or undercranked. Excuse me, overcranking is slowing down.
Yeah.
When it's undercranked, there's just a little bit. There's something off sometimes, you know, like when somebody falls and they fall faster than normal.
Yeah.
It can kind of take people out of fights, and I actually just don't notice it when I'm watching fights. Someone says that's undercranked, and I can't really, for some reason, I can't tell. And it's not that my head works faster than most people's. It's just I just don't notice a lot of the time. Maybe I just get more in tune. Maybe I'm focusing on other things. I don't know, but
you're just involved in the fight, you know.
Maybe so. Maybe that's it. I don't know. And in the future, I would like to undercrank some things, but not exchanges. I think that there's definitely an art to doing the fight at 24 frames a second or 30 and just not speeding it up or not speeding it up at all. I think there's just something visually nice about that.
Marina has one more question. She also said, how much training do they have before they perform stunts like that?
It varies. Different people in our crew have different backgrounds. I have, the gymnastics background. I weightlifted. That counts as training, I guess.
Yeah.
And I can fall down and keep myself from breaking. I guess that helps. So training for a stunt, I don't know. I mean, that's a wild card. But training for fight scenes, which are, fight scenes are stunts as far as I'm concerned. Those, you should be comfortable in the martial art that you're doing. And by that I mean if you feel if you feel self-conscious while you're doing a fight scene, it doesn't matter how much experience you have, you're not going to look very good. And a lot of the time I've found that actors who have a good amount of confidence and no martial arts experience actually perform better than seasoned martial artists who are stuck in their ways and can only do things in a certain way. And those people, those martial artists, those seasoned martial artists, sometimes are just so stiff and unwieldy, or whatever the word is. They can't move.
Are you talking about
And
one in
so
particular that
in
annoys
particular?
you?
No, not really. No, nothing in particular. It's just I can't really think of any offhand, but sometimes just doing a fight scene with an actual martial artist who is shy on camera is a lot harder than just doing a fight scene with an actor who doesn't know anything about martial arts but can at least throw a fast punch.
Right.
And I would honestly just rather watch a fight scene with an actor who can throw a fast punch. And take a reaction too. That's the other thing, is for reactions, martial artists a lot of the time have a hard time with reactions, faking that they've been hurt. I know an example. When I did Bound by Blood, Steve Reedy and I did a film in Indiana with Impact Productions, Bound by Blood, which you can get in stores.
Really? What
Yeah.
store can you get that in?
I don't know which stores in particular. I know you can get it on Netflix, I think.
Oh, cool.
You can get it at hkflix.com. And I believe you can rent it at Blockbusters in some places. I don't know. But that was a film that I choreographed, and Dennis Rule and Andy Leung are in it too, and Steve Reedy was the director. I was the second unit director, and I edited it. And I was the choreographer. And so there was one scene where they hired, they had a casting call for martial artists around Indianapolis, which is where the film was shot, and just said, come one, come all, martial artists be in an action film. And so, 10 of these guys show up, and nice guys, but that aside, it was a very difficult task to teach them the finer points of screen fighting, because a lot of these guys are, in Muay Thai, they're kind of in the MMA thing, and teaching them to take the reaction was just, it's foreign to them. Like, why? It's a weird question to pose to a martial artist. It's like, can you fake like you've been hit?
Like,
What
no,
do they say to that? Why would I wouldn't get hit. What? It's a weird thing to ask of somebody who's so trained to strike and not act like they've been hit.
Right.
And then and that was hard. We had to resort to camera trickery.
Well, you know what?
to
I
get some
just
of those-
I just went to Netflix and I just put it in my queue.
Oh, okay, cool.
Bound by Blood. Cool. That's awesome.
And that was just one fight scene. The main guys involved, Chris and Sean, they were awesome, and everybody else was really cool. It's just getting some people who aren't actors, who are just martial artists, not actors, or not stuntmen for that matter. Because stuntmen, I'm pretty sure if you're a stuntman, if you call yourself a stuntman, you can do a reaction to a punch. Teaching screen fighting to those to martial artists who don't have those skills is really difficult. So to answer the question, experience is going to vary greatly. It depends on what kind of person you are. You might get it in a year. You might be ready to just go out there and right now and do a fight scene. You may have kind of shoddy looking moves, but you could probably sell everything. Maybe your moves are really good and you can't sell a thing. I don't know.
But and you see it all the time. I mean, people submit their videos to you all the time to judge it. How's this fight scene? And are you very honest with them, or are you a little bit, trying to be polite?
Well, the forum, the forum in our website is basically there for that reason.
Yeah.
People post their videos there, not just for me to see,
Right,
but for everybody to see. There are so many people on there who are just experienced, have been doing this at least as long as I have, and they'll give fairly honest critiques about a fight scene, and I'll poke in every once in a while and say something. I can't give a good reason as to why I don't watch all of them and why I don't review all of them, other than that there are a lot of movies being made on this board. I mean, there's probably a new one up every day, a new movie on there that somebody's posted.
there is.
And,
I've gone through a few, and that's a lot. I mean,
yeah, it's a lot, and I would love to review each one of them and give very, very careful critiques, but I don't know. I have no excuse. I just don't do it.
no, you got a life, man. I mean, shit. You put up the forum. You have a blog now. You're working four days a week. You're writing a script. I mean, yeah, I understand. Sometimes you just have to take a break, and you can't involve yourself into it as much as you would like to.
It's kind of an emotional involvement too when you're watching someone else's video, and that you want to give a good critique, but you don't want to be too brash. You don't want to be too nice. You want them to improve. So it's not just a matter of watching the video for 2 minutes and then writing for 3. It's more than that. And people start getting upset at you for saying a mean thing, or you get blamed for being lax and then making crappy movies from then on. I don't know.
See, I'm delving into that realm right now, which I'm kind of scratching my head, going, "Why did I start this?" I'm starting to review software for Final Cut Pro.
Okay.
And I came across this one software, and just me being me, I reviewed it. It was awesome. These plugins that just basically add a whole new level of like creativity to your edits. And I was talking to the owner of the company, and he was, giving me a walkthrough about what I should expect and everything else, which I'm never going to do again, because as a user of some software or something like that, I want to figure out myself, see if it's easy to learn, right. see if I can uncover things and what I don't uncover, because that's what I want people to understand. Not everyone's going to be able to talk to the owner, and I'm sure the owner doesn't want to talk to everybody. But I opened it up, and this guy caught a wind of it, and he's just like, "Hey, I have a couple more. Would you like to review?" I'm like, "Sure." Oh, cool. And I'm not even going to say the names, but I don't like them.
Yeah.
One's a really good idea, but the execution there's something there that's lacking, and I would give it a positive review, not like what I gave the earlier one, but the last one was just garbage. And this is like a plugin for Final Cut Pro that has been around for a while, and it has a name behind it, and it's crap. It looks like 1990s corporate garbage. The cheesy filters, transitions, and all this other stuff, and it has a snow effect, and it's just almost it's really bad. It's really bad, and they sell it for about $900. And there's no way I could put up a post there, and I'm trying to be as professional as possible, and I don't want to give them a bad name, but at the same time, I want to be honest to my readers who might go out and buy something.
Right.
Because I don't want them coming back going, "Hey, you didn't tell me how bad this was, but I went and got it anyway because I figured, I just don't want to be there." And so now I'm dealing with that thing where it's kind of just like, I'm thinking about the people who read it, but at the same time, I'm also thinking about the companies. So I just need to just cut it and run and just be like, "All right, it's crap. Let's move on." I don't know.
When I was writing those reviews way back when, I stopped doing anything in 2002. Sometimes if the movie was bad, I would just be unbelievably harsh, just to be funny.
Yeah.
And then as the site got more popular, that came back to haunt me. Some of those people who worked on those movies found the reviews, and they said that one guy is an American guy in a film. I didn't know what his name was, and I didn't really bother looking it up. But he was one of the stuntmen in the movie, and I just called him the guy who looks like Gallagher. So I just called him Gallagher for the whole movie, the whole review. And I thought that was funny, and I'm pretty sure the other readers did too, except he didn't. And he let me know.
Oh, I'm sure.
He was nice about it, but I felt so stupid, like how could I be so unprofessional as to call a guy Gallagher? But like, no, I'm doing an entertaining review, and it's just, there's that two sides of the story that are always going to hit you whenever you write any review, especially if it's going to have criticism in it. It's like finding that fine line between being critical and being an asshole.
Yeah. Yeah, and I found that line too, where I criticized news agencies that go out and shoot commercials because they do it for free, and how can you compete against that? So I was not critiquing or criticizing the people that actually work there, and someone who works at a news station took it personally, and they're like, there's a lot of fine camera people and editors, and I was just like, I know that they're a lot better than I am, but
Yeah.
I was like, when I do the
Exactly.
work and that company calls and tries to get it off me for free so that they can use it on one of their clients for free, that pisses me off. Do you not understand what I just wrote? You know, it's just he's just like, well,
Yeah.
you should be careful with your words. I took it down and I posted it like 2 months later because I knew it'd be off my front page by then.
Yeah, that's not fair when people put things out for free and you give it a hard review, but it's free, and then that's almost like saying, if you were to give any sort of review about Indiana Jones, and then someone would come up to you and say, "What do you know about Indiana Jones? Do you make Indiana Jones movies? Do you make adventure
Exactly.
movies? What do you know?" And
Yeah.
I've gotten that before too, man. I've been critical of way back when I gave a critique on someone else's video that they'd been doing it longer than we had. They had a bigger fan base and all that, and I gave I didn't give like a scathing review. I just talked about how sometimes something about the shadows. They'd fight in the shadows and the sun was in the background, so you couldn't see it. And I said maybe you should use a bounce board, and that's all I said. And then they pretty much booed me out of the forum.
That's a great, but that's a kind of comment where a filmmaker would appreciate it. Yeah, I mean, if they really want to be a filmmaker, I mean, because
Yeah.
you look at your work on screen, you're like, the first thing you want to see is, does it look pretty? Does the image portray what you had in mind? You
Sure.
don't want to see mics, you don't want to see shadows, overbearing shadows. You want to see a relatively good expression, and
Yeah.
so I can understand. When someone says something, even about Corporate Assassin, at first I'm like, fuck you don't know what you're talking about. Then I sit back, I look at it, and I go, no, they're right. And I go back and I take it out or edit it. It's a little ego thing, but
That's an interesting point. We actually we used to get a lot of hate mail, and some of it's that kind of hate mail where you reply and then it goes nowhere. It just kind of vanishes into the ether.
Mhm.
But then sometimes I made it a point to just never reply angrily to these things. At first I didn't reply because I was mad that these people hated our guts, and they would say really hateful things like you guys suck at stunts. You can't, you're not nearly as good as these guys who make way better movies than you. You should go to their site and learn from them. I hope you never make movies in Hollywood because that'll be the end of action films as we know it. The end. Thank you. And I just wouldn't respond for the longest time. But then I started thinking well, maybe there's actually something to these people who have such a hate
yeah.
for you. What is it about our movies that brings out hate in other people? There's got to be something besides just the fact that they don't like it. And so I'd reply. I'd say, hello, greetings, good sir. Why did you say that? And either they would reply, or either they wouldn't reply, or they would reply with, well, and then they'd get normal again.
Yeah.
And we'd actually open up a dialogue. And I think that some people who sent us hate mail back in the beginning, I would reply like that, and would end up actually establishing, making contact with these people, and they would come to our forum or keep emailing us, and so there's definitely something to hate mail, I think, that's interesting. We don't get really hate mail anymore. I don't know why. I kind of miss it.
Really, but
It was kind of cool. No, really, because what better ego booster is it, honestly, to have somebody email you or post something on your blog, to be too afraid to email you because you might reply and they might get that email. They're afraid of that.
Yeah.
But to have them post that they hate you and what you've done has angered them and just infuriated them. They're staying up all night thinking about it. You must have done something pretty fucking cool to do that to somebody.
especially on a site like what you have. I mean, it's like you're entertaining people and showing some good videos. If someone has a hate, that's more of like a jealous or envy,
Right. And
kind of
then,
thing.
and honestly, that's why I would just try and open up to those people and say, look, what's the big deal? What's the problem?
Yeah.
And then those people would come back a lot of the time and just reply with, I don't know, I don't know. I don't know. You know, and it was like, well, let's be buddies, you know, and then it was okay after that. And then maybe that's why we don't get hate mail anymore, because I just talked to all of them already. And they know that if they send me hate mail, I'm just going to respond, oh, how you doing, Kevin? Good to see you.
Oh, thanks. I missed your rude comments.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've had some on Greensboro's Child, the blog I had. Man, there are some people who are, you know, put up a lot of hateful stuff and a lot of ignorant stuff too. I mean, that's a far different form when you talk about race.
No, definitely. I'm not even going to go there.
Yeah,
I've
it
never
was
gotten that,
but it's not even. But people, I find, especially on a blog, I don't get a lot of people posting their true feelings because it's up there. I control their comments now. They can't go in and take it down.
Right.
You know,
right?
And
exactly.
And it represents where they are. Now, for instance, like YouTube, where I put the clips online, I'd say about 98% of the people that, you know, comment on there are all like racist, ignorant bastards.
That's different.
And
yeah,
the context is completely gone. You know, it's just like,
completely.
them communist guy that came to you, woo, white power.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
it's
replace the word communist with something else, and you got
exactly
what the YouTube comments are these days. No, yeah, when I say that, I meant just the people who would actually email me, who would take the time to email me and say that we sucked, that we were terrible.
That's passion, man.
It's passion, and like I gotta tap into that. You know, I gotta talk to this guy because he's definitely seeing something that I'm not seeing.
You're like, I gotta juice this for what it is.
But no, we've never gotten anything like, you know, racist or nothing too bad. Usually it's a couple about girls and, oh, I'd like to see her and whatever, but
that's typical no matter
but
where.
I just don't, no, I'm not gonna even respond to that, but yeah, that's it's kind of my view toward hate mail. And like I said, we just don't get any anymore. It kind of makes me sad. I really kind of enjoyed it. There was one guy on YouTube, but I don't look at the comments on YouTube. That's if you want a reason to be depressed and to kill yourself, just read comments on YouTube. Daily, every day, just read like 5.
I get them all the time with Angela. She's singing Janis Joplin.
Oh yeah.
Boy, these people are such losers. You know, I go, my wife crushed the song, and they interpret that as saying Janet is a piece of shit. She's rotting in her grave, and she never had any talent. My wife rocks. Whoa. And, you know, and so people will comment going,
how dare you?
Be like, oh, Janice was so much better than her, and, you know, how dare she try to imitate? And I was like, oh, you guys are such losers.
Yeah, you know, when I see stuff like that, I kind of attribute it to, I equate it with spam. I really do. These aren't real people.
Yeah.
That sounds sick, but I think it's generally true that when you get to that point where you're just going on YouTube to post your to just shit on other videos, then you're not really being you. And so as far as I'm concerned, that whole profile that you've made on YouTube is not in front of a real person.
Yeah.
You know, that person just goes to middle school and they go home on the computer in the evening and say, "Fuck you, communist, N-word." Da, 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 da. Okay, now I'm going to school.
Now I'm going to school. Well, the funniest thing is, like, when people actually use their real name and information, then they start posting all this stuff that they feel passionate about, you know, but they don't read it. And then anybody else who comes down the road that tries to look up their profile, and they see all these ignorant comments, you're just like, oh, jeez. Do you realize that you just marked yourself for how many years?
Yeah.
But, you know,
I really think that I'm hoping, honestly, in the future that you will not have online profiles that are based on email. I'm hoping that everybody will carry around a USB stick, government issued, privately issued, whatever, right? And it's like 1 gigabyte of information on there, has your name, whatever on there, right? Whatever you want to put on it. But you only get one, right? Only one. And if you ever lose it, you get an exact copy of it made. And so when you plug it into a computer, right, that's your profile. And then whatever you say is for the rest of your life attributed to you.
That's called accountability. I don't think it would fly too well in this country right now.
Well, maybe all the sites like MySpace and Facebook will embrace it, and then they'll have no choice.
Yeah.
Sounds kind of devious, but really, the internet's just like a lot of fake crap out there that it's not real. And I think I attribute it to these people who are just take no accountability, like you said, have no accountability for their words.
I have 134 friends on Facebook. I don't even have 10 friends in Greensboro. It's just, how the fuck did that happen?
Yeah.
And like all these kids from high school start, friending me, and which, I like it. The only reason why is because I like to see where they're at right now, or like how they're doing in life. I have no ill will towards any of them anymore. I'm too old for that crap. But at the same time, it's just like, all right, you guys are doing good. That's good. But we never talk. It's not like, hey, Josh, hey, Jacob. Just, it doesn't happen. So it's kind of weird.
Yeah, and you wonder if you saw those people again, if it would be as exciting to see them as if you had not met them on Facebook.
Well, the weird thing was, the first person I interviewed for these conversations was someone who I went to high school with, and she married this filmmaker who's a brilliant stop-motion animator. And she's his manager, and they've gone all over the world. He's done, his name is Pez. I don't know if you heard of him.
Sorry, no.
He does these, he did a coin change thing, and you see in the supermarket that you dump all your change in. He did animation for that for commercial, where all the coins come out of the couch, come out of the laundry detergent.
Oh, I saw that.
Yeah, he's really super talented. So I wanted to talk to her about it, and it was a really good conversation. We had a lot of fun. But to reflect back when I was in high school, I used to call her all the time, and not to harass her or anything, but she was so polite she would never tell me to fuck off.
Oh, no.
It was one of those kind of things where it was just like, oh, God, Andy Kuhn, he found me again? Oh, Jesus.
Hi, yeah.
But I was just like, look, I'm going to keep calling. If she doesn't tell me to fuck off, then, fuck it. I'm just going to keep calling. So she, but it's awkward because that's in the back of my mind, where I'm sure she had no thought, she didn't even think twice about it. Because I remember seeing someone from high school, and I'm like, hey, Ted, how's he doing? He's just like, who are you? And I'm like, all right, hope you have a good life. No point in introducing myself now.
Nah.
But anyway, hey, Eric, I got a couple things I want to discuss with you offline.
Okay.
But this was an awesome conversation, man. I had a blast. And we're definitely going to be watching out for you in the future. And also, we're going to be checking out stuntpeople.com. Those updates.
Stuntpeople.com. You got to go to thestuntpeople.com.
Did I say duh?
Yeah, thestuntpeople.com.
Thestuntpeople.com.
Yeah.
And you need to get...
Stuntpeople.com costs $2,500. I don't have enough money to get that.
Are you serious?
Yeah, somebody owns it, and,
fuck it. You're named The anyway, so it works.
Yeah. Yeah, there's only one of us. Jeez.
Yeah, the one and only.
It'd be kind of rotten if it were some stuntpeople.com or a stuntperson.com, People would be like, I don't know which one to go to.
Stunt People 1, Stunt People 2.
Yeah.
Big thanks to Eric Jacobus for sharing his journey. And some things that I've known about Eric since this interview. He's done amazing things. He is the motion cap actor for the God of War, Kratos. So the punches, the kicks, everything that you play with, that's actually Eric Jacobus, mocapped. And he owns his own mocap studio and is doing amazing work. He's also an author. He wrote his first book called If These Fists Could Talk, a stuntman's unflinching take on violence. And I highly suggest it to check it out on Amazon or wherever you find your books. And I love his YouTube channel. Recently, he just did a debate with ChatGPT about violence in film. He is such a unique mind. Now, to explore more of Eric's work, you can visit his official website at ericjacobus.com. You can also follow him on social media for updates on his latest projects. So on YouTube, it's Eric Jacobus. Instagram, at Eric Jacobus. Twitter or X, whatever it is these days, at Eric Jacobus. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe and rate the podcast. It truly helps others discover these incredible stories. And if you want to know what I've been up to, you could check talentfreaks.com and see the videos that I worked on, some of the stories behind it, as well as the photography that I'm working on these days, which I'm absolutely in love with. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe and rate the podcast. It truly helps others discover these incredible stories. And if you have suggestions for future guests or topics, feel free to reach out. I'm always eager to bring new and exciting conversations to the podcast. Until next time, keep exploring, keep creating, and stay curious.